All right, guys, my name is Mina Fees, and I am here to talk to you today about kitchen renovation, both the design and the construction side. Really glad that you decided to join me today. And just to tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm talking about this subject. Again, my name is Mina Fees. I actually own a design build firm, so a residential remodeling firm right outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. And we started the business a little over 9 years ago, and just over the years have really enjoyed our process of taking our clients through all kinds of renovations, not only kitchen, but additions and whole home renovations. So we've done a really amazing job at helping people figure out how to go about renovating and how to really hold their hand through the process. And a couple years ago, I got frustrated realizing, well, geez, we're just in Northern Virginia. How can we get out there and help more people? I was tired of having people saying, oh, I wish you lived in Colorado, or I wish you didn't work in Maryland, and we just weren't able to service them. So I took our process and turned it into what we call the renovation roadmap, which I'll tell you a little bit more at the conclusion of this webinar. But really today is talking about some of the design aspects that we go through with each and every client when we're designing a kitchen, what to look out for, what to be thinking through as you go through that design process, and then also some insider tips and tricks on how to work with your contractor, how to make sure that everything's ready to go when it's time to get into the construction phase, how to communicate during the construction phase, and then afterwards as well. So again, really glad that you joined us. I'm going to slip on over to the slides and say that a few times fast and just jump right into the material. I'm going to throw a lot at you today, so I hope you have a pen and paper. There will be a recording available up to 72 hours after the showing here. So hopefully you get everything that you need, and I'll come back and wrap up after we get through the slides. So here we go. You should be able to see my slides in just a few minutes. So again, we're here talking about kitchen design and renovation, how to get the kitchen of your dreams. So I talked a little bit about already what we're going to cover, but just a quick review, the floor plan design. We're going to go through 3 completely different designs that we've done with clients, different, large homes, townhomes, that type of thing, and the process and things that you want to be thinking as you go through planning your new kitchen. I'm going to talk a lot about material choices and how to best select what you want to put in your kitchen. And then again, the construction phase. So before construction, during construction, after construction, some tips and tricks along the way. So like I said, we've been doing this for a while, and almost every single homeowner comes to us in some form or fashion of this state. So just frustrated with their home, frustrated with their space. They don't love their home when they walk in the door. It could be book bags and shoes and coats everywhere, or the living room used to be their adult space, and now that they've gotten kids, there's toys everywhere. But most importantly, a lot of times people can't stand their kitchen. You may already be in that phase here as you join the webinar or as you listen to this, or you may be thinking, hey, what's that kitchen down the road? But if you walk in and there's no place to put anything, no charging station, none of that information or that functionality that you would want isn't there. So you kind of come in your house every day and you're stressed. And what my absolute passion, what I'm on this earth for, is to help take that stress away from homeowners so that every day you walk in and you feel restored. And this goes beyond just you. It could be your spouse, your kids. As I was growing up and I always wanted a safe space to come home to. And I think it's so important when you've got preteens and teenagers and even young kids, they come home, they're stressed out from school and all the drama that's going on in their life. You want them to feel like they've got that safe haven. So that's my passion. Like I said, that's why we created the renovation roadmap, and a process that we can talk about a little bit later. But we're going to jump right into the design itself, which is floor plans, one of my favorite pieces of going as we go through with our clients. So the first thing I'm showing you, I'm calling it a modern farmhouse. So this is a client that we actually did the whole first floor, but we're just going to focus on the kitchen today. And the first thing that we do is we go out, or you want your designer to go out and create an as-built. This might be called an existing floor plan, whatever it is, but how does your home or how does your kitchen currently function? So I'm going to walk you through a little bit about the issues that this client was trying to address. So first of all, they had an island that was way too small. They felt like it was, there was no counter space whatsoever. They felt like it was a lot of, didn't mind. A lot of people, I will say, people see this picture and wonder, well, should I take the range out of the island? And I will say most people do want to do that. But this client, she actually loved being able to face the living room, which is the room down here. So she liked having the range there, but she wasn't sure how large the island should go, if there should be seating, if there shouldn't be. So that's what we're going to walk you through in our thought process with this particular design. Another issue she had is up here on the right, this was a built-in pantry. And so many times people ask, should I have a built-in pantry? Is it okay to get rid of it? I can tell you right now that the trend is to get rid of them because they're so awkward, especially this one being in an angle, but even ones that are straight on can be very, just not a good utilization of space. Let's just put it that way. Today's cabinetry, cabinets or pantry cabinets that come through cabinetry are so with the rollout drawers and all the little bells and whistles. There's so many options that you can really use, get a lot more in a lot smaller space. So we were going to address the pantry. She also couldn't stand this little drop zone over here. So this was a lower cabinet, and then this is an upper cabinet right here. So as kids came in, everybody just dumped their stuff here. And this became a catch-all, kind of like that picture I just showed you a minute ago. And the person working back here in the kitchen, they're not going to come over here and use this as workspace. It was just an awkward area. So we wanted to address how to open that up. And they're also you're seeing right here, the half wall and a supporting column and another half wall going into the living room again, further down on the screen. So they really felt just visually cut off from the rest of the space, wanted to unify these two spaces and really take a look at how can we make the kitchen work better for them. All right. So that's where we are starting. So I'm going to walk you through a couple options. So the first option, what we did was we doubled the size of that island. By opening up these walls, and what you're seeing, these little black dots are columns that were load bearing. So it supported the second level. So they actually are structural columns. But by placing those there, we were able to open up this entire span. We were able to get rid of that awkward cabinetry that wasn't doing anybody good. We actually widened the opening into the kitchen so you could visually enter the space a lot easier. And one thing that they had not thought of is this closet over here. And I'm going to actually go back, so bear with me. This was a really large closet that once we got into the design, we started saying, well, they don't need that large of a closet in the hallway. They had a mud room. They had other things that they could use, other places to put coats. So we went ahead and stole a little bit of that space for the closet to get a whole other cabinet here, a lower cabinet and an upper cabinet. And you're seeing this little note that's upside down here. It says charging station. Almost every kitchen we do, you have some type of charging area. So you can put charging stuff that's in the cabinet. So you can within the drawer. So you can just open stuff up, put your laptop, put your iPad, put all that electronics in one place and keep them out of sight and out of mind. Over here on the top right is where we put that pantry. So we took out that weird, awkward pantry. We were able to get a little bit more cabinetry space here and then put a nice built-in cabinetry here. Cabinetry cabinet, I should say. And then another thing that we thought of as we were going through this is, well, why not create a little bench in this nice bay window? Because what that allowed us to do is take this table and scoot it over so that there was a lot more open space walking through here. And one thing, a tidbit for you and your designer that you're working with is make sure that they measure any furniture that you're going to be keeping in your space. So if in this instance, it says existing and it has a dimensions of the table. So this was a table that we knew going in that's going to stay. So we need to make sure we can design around it. So make sure when you're working with your cabinetry designer that they're thinking through and can put that size and scale in the options for you as well. All right, moving on to option 2. In this instance, we did not have the built-in because the bench. So we showed what it would look like and what it would feel like if they did not have that added. We did keep the pantry over in this area, but over here, we went ahead and kept the double-sided island. We put a wine cooler. So they drink a lot of wine and they wanted to have a nice little beverage center. So we put that in the island. And then we also left the closet alone. So, in just the biggest thing about going through floor plans and going through different reiterations, it's so much cheaper and cost effective, and will save you peace of mind if you go through a lot of different reiterations while you're just designing things out. So we wanted to show them, what does it look like without the closet being touched? What was to gain and what was not to gain in those two different options. All right. And then moving on to 3. This is where we got a little bit more creative here. So we kept the size of the island. And what I mean by that is the surface on the island is the same width as the other islands. But instead of having it be full cabinet, we did a little bit of a shallower cabinet and then put stools here with the overhang. So the work surface is there. They've got everything that they need as far as the overall size and scale of the island, but just a little bit less storage. Now, what's great about this is obviously you're not going to put your everyday items here because you've got to move the stool out of the way to get to it. However, it allows you to get the best of both worlds. You're able to get that additional seating, have shallower cabinets, and maybe put your party platters and overflow items, things that you don't need to get to every day in the island. We went ahead and put the trash over here as well, so it'd be easy for anybody at the table to get over there without having to get near the sink and get in the way of the cook of the kitchen. And over here it says mixer. So this was actually a cabinet where a mixer is permanently attached, and you just open it up, pull up the heavy mixer, and then it locks in place, and you can just use it right there. So it's a nice little feature, and we're going to talk about material selections and features in a moment, but it's a great way to be able to get some of those heavy items off of your counter. Now, in this instance, we did break it up a little bit. We actually moved the pantry over here on the left side of the kitchen. And our thought process in that was, why would you want to have a pantry way over here tucked in this side of the kitchen where you've got to walk through to get, peanut butter and jelly or a box of cereal? It's really nice to have that nice and open and easily accessed by the entrance and right next to the refrigerator. So a kid could come in, grab what they need, grab the milk, fix their bowl and get out of your way and not really be underfoot all the time. So we really like that idea. A couple other things. We also put what you're seeing here is a microwave over here. And then in this one, we did not show the built-in bench. Again, just wanted to show worst case, if they didn't want to do that additional expense of adding a built-in bench, what could it look like? And what's nice about this, and one thing that you want to be thinking of if you've got budgetary concerns or you're not sure if you can get everything done at once, is that's something that can be phased. Meaning any contractor or a contractor come back later and build in that bench seating. So that's something that can always be done later. So it's not what I call a must-have, which we're going to talk about in a moment. All right. So as with every single client we've ever worked with, our clients end up liking a little bit of A, a little bit of B, a little bit of C. So this is the final plan that we ended up with. And so they did love the built-in bench seating. So we did keep that. But we actually put a microwave drawer over here. So instead of having the microwave above where you have to kind of reach over the counter and bring stuff down, it's actually a microwave drawer that goes in the lower cabinets. So very, very popular today. Not a cheap option. They are a bit more expensive, but it's a really nice way to, again, keep that clean and open things off the counter. The wine cellar or the wine cooler we put over here in this corner since the pantry had freed up that corner. And they absolutely love the idea of the additional cabinetry, the seating at the island in addition to the cabinetry. So let's show you some before and after so you can get an idea of what this looked like. So this is a before. Hopefully you saw that. Notice that right when you saw it. So the half walls that I was talking about, the built-in awkward pantry, all of that. And then this is the after. So these are the large structural columns. So we wrap those up. We actually put a steel beam up top here. And again, you may be looking at this saying, oh my God, there's no way we're going through all that. That's not what you're looking to do. Not a problem. We're just showing you what's possible here. So this was opening that up. You can see again, the wine cooler, the microwave drawer, the seating that I was talking about. I've got a little bit closer of a view here as well. Before and after. So you can see the microwave door a little bit better. You can see some decorative columns. This is a great way. And this is why I call it a modern farmhouse, is because, this is a house in suburbia of Washington, D.C. This is not out on a farm and by any means, but she really liked that eclectic look. You can see by the style of the stools and the lighting, and then putting these little feet or columns at the end of the island was a nice way to add some additional touch to it. And then this cabinetry, it's kind of cut off here, but you can see that built-in pantry right there. Again, over on the left side, very accessible to everybody. And as we go into material selections, I just want to highlight a couple of things that help to bring in that modern farmhouse look. So she loved what we call an apron sink. So if you can get really decorative with these. This one's a little bit more of a modern, just a clean line look, a really nice look. If you want something kind of a statement piece, again, you're adding additional cost than just a traditional undermount stainless sink, but it really is eye catching. Also, we did these cups and then pools. So we switched up the hardware on the cabinetry, which added a really nice oomph. But then we had this nice modern backsplash and modern countertop. So it's a great way to have both looks kind of come together. Now, along those same lines, also in the kitchen faucet. So this is more of an industrial, very not run-of-the-mill farmhouse type of faucets, but it really, again, she just loved it when we saw it in the showroom, and it was a great way to bring everything together. And I get a lot of questions of, can you mix oil rub bronze and can you mix stainless? Absolutely. You don't want to go crazy, but in this instance, she had stainless steel appliances. It was absolutely fine to have the silver and the chrome actually at the sink. One thing I want to point out too, which some people love, is this little area here is actually the garbage disposal button. So instead of having it on the wall, you can actually put it in your countertop where you can just push the button right when you're right next to the sink and not have to reach over. Just a nice to have. And lastly, this is just a picture of the built-in bench seating. This is a great way. We've done this many times. This particular one is additional storage as well. So in the middle, in the deepest part of the bay window, if you take this, the cushion off, you can open it up and there was storage in there. You could also do drawers that pull out. So a lot of different ways that you could really utilize that space. All right, let's get into design number 2, our townhouse revival. And the issues really were walking into the space felt very confined in the entry. So you had to walk in, you had all these awkward doors, then you had a kind of a closed-ish opening, kind of a cased opening. And then you walked in, you couldn't even see the kitchen because by the time you walk in, you're already looking past it. So this was a tiny little kitchen, very hard to maneuver in. I had one client one time call it a one butt kitchen, meaning you could only get one butt in at a time. So this is what I would call a one butt kitchen. And you can see just the configuration was quite outdated as far as the range being right up against the wall over here in the corner, the pantry, the sink, and the refrigerator. So very hard to get around and very cut off from the rest of the space. And then that's one thing that they really wanted to address. Now, one thing that you want to, whenever you're thinking about removing walls, which is one of the first things that we'll do, and you'll want to work with your contractor in this, is when you know you want to move forward, you absolutely know you're redoing your kitchen. Let them poke some holes in the wall. We even have a camera that you can kind of go through and look through the walls and see if there's any plumbing lines or load-bearing columns or anything that you wouldn't expect, because you want to make sure that you identify those early on. So in this instance, we knew that we had plumbing lines coming from the bathroom onto the 2 top floors above it. So we were not moving those. So we had to really work around those in this design. So the first option, just staying on that same line, is you can see right here, these are the pipes. So we didn't move them, but we put an island and put it to the left of it and really elongated the kitchen, making it much more open. The light was able to come in from both the back as well as this wall of sliding glass doors that they had, really opened up the space. And this column that you're going to see, I'll show you the before and afters in a moment, just was put there for symmetry. So you didn't have this weird one column sitting in the middle of nowhere. We actually created a second one, a faux column that you didn't really need, but really created that balance and that space that our clients wanted. Now, in this entry, we went ahead and kept the entry closed as far as, a nice little vestibule. We did change the doors to make the single swing doors. You could just come in and be able to at least open one door. And we wanted to have that additional wall space for the large pantry and the upper and the upper and the lower cabinetry here. So in this instance, we kept the entry kind of as is as far as the size of it. The second one, we decided to do the opposite of that. So we actually pulled it back. We kept a little bit of a wall here. It's always nice, if possible, to have a wall that your door opens into. So, not just having it kind of swing into the space. So we wanted to show that as far as that option. But visually, we cut this back so you walk in, you can completely see the entire space. Now, in this instance, instead of moving the island this way, we decided to move it this way, just to show them, again, different options to think through. And in case they were a little worried about encroaching too far in and making it feel too heavy on the middle or in the inside of their space, we wanted to show what it would look like, kind of compact over in this area. So in this instance, we have the pantry, we have some lower cabinets in a corner, we've got the range as a focal point, the sink, and then the refrigerator. So you can just see the different flow there. All right. I bet you're wondering what number 3 is. Number 3 really looked at it from how do we get its maximum amount of storage and really open up the space and keep the sink in the same location, so that whoever's in the kitchen can be washing dishes, looking out, and really having a conversation with the people in the living room. So there's the nice island. It's a little bit longer of an island. We did get rid of that wall. So the door in this instance doesn't have a wall to stop on. But if you notice, if it were to swing all the way open, it's not impeded. So it could go right up against this wall. And then we just did a nice L and a peninsula with a pass through to the dining area. So what did they pick? All right. A little bit of both. All right. So they actually liked the idea of opening up the entry, but instead of completely cutting it back like we had shown in one of the versions, we did a half wall. So this white wall you're seeing is full size, but then there's a half wall so that visually when you walk in, you can see the space, you're entering it visually, but there was another space for a lower cabinet and a charging station area there. And then they love the island. They were fine with losing a little bit more space because they really wanted to open and connect the two spaces. So without further ado, here's the before. And so you can just see how cut off, you had a little window you could see through, but if you're out here watching TV or the kids are playing games, whoever's in the kitchen is completely cut off from the rest of the family. And that just wasn't going to do for them anymore. So we opened that up. This is the faux column here, and the one on the left, or in the back, I should say, is where the plumbing lines were coming through. So you can see them really much more connected, just completely opens up the space, makes it feel much bigger. This is a view from the inside of the kitchen and to that same wall. So it's a little bit of a different angle, but this is where the range, you can see the range is essentially where the sink was, and then we moved everything down. So you're able to visually walk in. This is that lower cabinet, and immediately you're struck by, you're in the kitchen, you're able to enter the space. See, I have one more here. This is just that little pass through. Again, just completely cut off, and now you can just easily move about. Energy flows. You hear me talk a lot about energy. So you can walk in the door, the energy is flowing around, the kids can run around and grab what they need and get out of your way. And there's no bottleneck in that little corner anymore. All right. So this is a smaller townhouse. And the last one I want to go through is what I call the carriage home. And this just means a carriage home just means it's usually connected on one side or the other. So it's not technically a townhouse. They're usually a little bit wider, a little bit larger, but they have an adjoining wall. So that's what a carriage home is. So in this instance, the issue was really feeling cut off when you walk into, there's a theme here, when you walk into the front door, just feeling like you couldn't see the space. You just really couldn't open it up much. So this pantry was really what was in the way. So there's no load bearing walls or anything. Cause I know the first two examples, did talk about taking out some walls. This one, although we take out some walls, there's nothing load bearing or structural or anything that you need to be concerned about. It was just visually the pantry was in the way and this coat closet was in the way. And you had to like go into the kitchen. And again, once you're in the kitchen, you're in the kitchen. You couldn't just easily get to the dining room. You had to go all the way through here and out the door here. So what did we do? Open it up a little bit. So in this instance, what we did, because the client wanted to see what it would look like, is she was fine getting rid of the closet altogether. So the closet that was right here, we actually got rid of that. And because she had a nice 2-car garage and had a really nice mud zone, like kind of landing area in the garage. So there was no reason for that additional coat closet in her mind. And again, this might not work for you or your family. Not everybody's okay with not having a closet, but for her, she wanted to see what that option looked like. And then as we walk in, we did keep a peninsula feel, but we got rid of that huge pantry that was blocking everything. And we moved it over here on the left of the left refrigerator. So as you walk in, visually, you can see all the way through. You've got a nice island. You've got a sink. You can easily have a conversation with anybody in both the dining room and the living room. Got the range. We kept that in the same space. And the refrigerator, we just moved down a little bit. The next option totally changed some things. We actually said, well, let's see how we could get a closet in here and have a powder room. So we thought outside of the box. And we actually switched where the powder room was, we turned into a closet, and then we moved the closet over here where there was like this bar area, it was actually an old closet that had been turned into a bar area. So we turned that into the powder room just to see what that would give us and be able to talk through those options. Again, when you're in the design phase with your contractor, with your designer, and put everything on the table. You might decide down the road that after you've thought through what's really possible in your home and you're going to stay there another 15, 20 years, it's your forever home or at least long-term home, you might say, you know what? It really does make sense to do that. We might not have the budget for it right now. Let's wait another year, save up, and be able to really do what we want. So don't always let that budget keep you back from the design process. All right. And then the third option, we wanted to show what an island looked like. So in this instance, we had an island. We turned it on the side. So it really opened up the space, could walk around very easily. In all these instances, the pantry and the fridge just made the most sense to be here out of the way and not like over here where you really want it to be a nice focal point. So this area didn't really change, but opening the island and getting rid of that peninsula just to see what the client thought and what they wanted to go through. All right. So where'd we end up? I know you're waiting. All right. So this is a hybrid of everything. So we kept the powder room, but we did a smaller closet. And so it's a little bit thinner, but just enough to be able to put a couple coats in. And it's a little bit deeper than a normal closet would be. So we put some shelves in the back. So there was, you could put your boots back there, umbrellas, stuff that you don't need every single day. So created some usable space in that closet area, but really opened it up with this peninsula and added seating at the peninsula. Now, this client had I think he was 4 at the time, maybe 5-year-old son. I actually blogged about her recently. She had, unfortunately lost her husband to cancer, recently before she purchased this house. So, having her son close and being able to interact while she was in the kitchen and preparing dinner for her and her son was very important to her. So we went ahead and put the seating at the table, or I should say at the peninsula. All right. So let me show you some before and afters. This is a before. So the refrigerator here was right up against this wall, and that's that wall of the powder room. And then there was this weird wall that, again, we poked holes in. There was nothing there. I don't know if the builder, when they were building it, just, had a certain amount of size cabinetry and put that there so that everything would fit, or what reason he or she, I should say, decided to do this. But there was no reason for it to be there, so we took it out. And that just gave us, it might only be 6-8 inches here and there, but it makes a big difference. By taking that wall out, we're able to move the fridge down, create a nice large pantry, and then still a nice clean look along the countertops. And then this is the view from when you walk in the front door. So it was really about, again, you couldn't see anything. You just walked in, you saw stairs and a big wall. And then if you walked into the kitchen, you were stuck in the kitchen and again, not able to really react and connect with the people in the rest of the space. And this is the after. So as you walk in, that whole pantry is completely gone. You can immediately see the island. We did a little bookshelf area at the end of the island for cookbooks and that type of stuff, just to add some visual interest. You can also see we did some unique tile and a nice little fireplace mantle. So as you're thinking through your kitchen, realize that especially if you're opening it up, the rest of your home is might need a little bit of a facelift. Not that you have to do it all at once, but you might want to think about either at least a fresh coat of paint or how you're going to reunite unite the flooring, those types of things as you go through it. All right. So that's the design portion as far as floor plans. I'm really excited to get into, how do you prepare for a renovation? I wanted to give some checklists and tools and things to be thinking of as you're going through this process with your designer and with your contractor. So one of the first things in preparation for a renovation is making sure that you don't rush. And it sounds simple, but if you remember that frustrated couple in the beginning that I talked about, a lot of times you've been waiting a long time to renovate your home, or you just been putting up with it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I got to get started. And you start calling contractors and, who can get in there the quickest because you just can't take it another minute. And I can tell you that can really work against you sometimes. Contractors that are readily available at the drop of a hat is not always a good sign. Good contractors should be in demand. And you don't want to be rushing yourself through the process of choosing everything and going through it. So making sure that you're prepared and that you think through some of the deeper questions of your renovation is very important. So the first checklist I'm showing here is what I call a project scope of work. So it's just and I almost should say preliminary because it's really coming from you. So it's doing some of that, I'd say deep thinking. It's a kitchen renovation, right? How deep are you going to get? But what are your goals for the renovation? What matters to you most? What are, the real why behind why you're doing this renovation? Yeah, you might want to update the space, but it might be to connect with the family on a more intimate level, to have more seats and have an inviting place for your teenager to sit up and do homework and maybe have a conversation with you. I know. I don't have teenagers myself, so good luck with that. I hear it's almost impossible. But if you create the space, it's more likely to happen. So, if you build it, they will come. That's what I'm thinking. So what are your goals for that renovation? And then what are the areas of the house that are going to be affected? So again, it might be the flooring that goes into the dining room and the living room. You might need to upgrade the fireplace, not need to as in a have to, but, what are those areas that you want to address as part of the kitchen renovation? And then any existing problems that you have. So just, there could be a leak. You could have had things happen under the sink before. You could have, some floor squeaks in the floor. That's a big thing that you want to have people handle at the same time. If they're going to be tearing up your floor, then they may as well go ahead and take care of some of those flooring issues for you that are on that main level. And then new features we want. And it's really important with this, and I talked a little bit about it earlier, as far as your must-have list, your nice-to-have list, and your pinch-me list. So let's say in your kitchen, you absolutely know you have to have new cabinets, you have to have new cabinetry, you need a new appliances, and you need a backsplash. You have to have that, if nothing else. But, if budget were to allow or you could stretch it a little bit, it would be really nice to have a microwave drawer. You saw them. They are a little bit more expensive, but if you could get that in there, that would be awesome. Or it'd be nice to run the hardwood flooring throughout the kitchen. So it'd really be nice to do that if at all possible. But if not, the tile's not that bad. We can keep it. And then your pinch me list is just, oh my gosh, if you could fit in new carpet in the second level. I know it has nothing to do with the kitchen, but a lot of times when you're thinking about renovations, there's other things that need to be addressed in your house. So that pinch me list might bleed over into other areas, or it might just be you really wanted to have a pizza oven or a pot filler at the stove, or a double oven. If you could, that's a good example as well. A lot of times people don't know if they have space for a double oven, so that might be on the pinch me list if you don't have to use it every day and you're not a huge cooker or baker. So what does this project scope look like when you put it together? Is a really nice detailed list. And why I put this under the preparation piece is because this is what you'd want to be meeting with any contractors that you're interviewing with this, armed with this information. What's your goal? What are the existing problems? And I'll just read through this really. So the goal in this instance is to modernize and expand the kitchen area. Existing problems: the kitchen is too small and cramped, eating area is inadequate, not enough counter space, the cupboards are too small, kitchen is cut off from the rest of the house, and so on. New features: the must-have list. So in this instance, got to replace a single sink with a double unit. So this person knew, I never want another single sink in my life. I got to have a double. So that's on a must-have list. A built-in refrigerator, a kitchen island with task lighting, breakfast nook to comfortably seat 6. So you can see those must-haves. The bonus items go into a little bit more detail, and then the pinch me list. So really spelling those out. And then lastly, how do you intend to use your renovated space? So in this instance, we'll just go with this one: be able to cook a complete dinner without having to stop and clean up because there's no workspace. We want to be in the kitchen. I, cook a lot, and I want to be able to spread everything out and not have to be cleaning up after myself and having different zones I need to worry about. Want to have family dinners in the eating area. So if you have a larger kitchen and you're going to put in a kind of a breakfast table, that might need to have enough room for 6 people. Or it might mean you're going to have a really oversized island so that they could sit up at the island. Those are the things you want to think through. And be able to talk easily from the kitchen with guests in the living room. So again, another example of opening up that space. And then at the very end, and we're going to talk a little bit about intention, but it says the kitchen will be a warm, light-filled, and inviting space that makes entertaining friends and family easy and enjoyable. So this is their intention for their new kitchen. And you want to be thinking, when I say deep work, it's like, what is the why other than aesthetics of why you're creating this space? That's what this is really addressing. So that's some of the preparation that you want to do. Now we're going to get into the material selection. So when you are starting to choose materials, well, actually even before you start choosing materials, but when you're starting to meet with contractors and trying to get quote unquote quotes or pricing, and I'm putting air quotes, you can't see me, but it's very important that you give them some guidelines on what level of finish you're looking to have in your finishes. Because if you tell somebody, I just want a backsplash and I want this and that and this and that, and you're not very detailed, then they're just going to guess on what things cost. And then you're going to be left holding the bag or having to have what they call change orders, where you're spending more to get what you thought you were getting in the beginning. Actually, one of the biggest reasons that homeowners and contractors get at odds and sometimes even go to court against each other is because the homeowner thought they were getting X and the contractor thought they were providing Y. And when those two things are not in alignment, that's where things don't go very well. So this next section of talking about materials and doing a little bit of homework on your part is very, very important. So this checklist is for preliminary material price list. So what does that mean? It just means you're going to go out and go to a couple showrooms and get an idea of what level of pricing you're seeing for the things that you like. So if you look at hardwood can be everything from $2-3 a square foot tile hardwood, all the way up to $15, $20, $30, depending on how exotic and everything that you want to get. So or carpet, good example, how much per square yard? Is it $25 a square yard? Is it $40 a square yard? Go out, touch and feel some carpets, get a good idea of what pricing you're being drawn to so that you can provide that to your contractor when they give you some quotes. Example for tile is the same thing. So you could just say, okay, I want tile, but is that $2 a square foot tile, or are you really seeing everything you're like more around the $6 and $7 a square foot range? So it's very easy to do this as you're going out and about in showrooms and really getting an idea of just your local hardware store or design showroom, to just start jotting down what you're thinking and around a range, so that when you are getting numbers back from contractors, that you're kind of getting a much better, closer to apples comparison. All right. So along those same lines, in the price of journey of the roadmap is really talking about how to keep your project within budget. And some of the common budget busters I want to just run through very quickly, so you can be thinking about that as you're going through the design process. Tile. I touched on this just a second ago, but a great way to not break your budget and break the bank is to mix high-end and low-end tiles. So let's say you love the look of marble. And in this instance, it's looking kind of like a bathroom, as far as a bathroom floor is an example. But so we'll use that for a moment, because you probably, even though we're renovating a bathroom now, at some time in your future, you will. So tile is a great way to make sure that you don't go over budget, because there's a lot of different ways that you can mix high end and low end tiles to get you that look that you want, but not that's going to break the bank. So in this example, and I'm showing you kind of a bathroom example here, but so for the bathroom floor, let's say you just love this pattern and you absolutely love it, but it's $15, $25 a square foot. It could be very expensive, but the bathroom floor might have very small areas. You don't need it everywhere. We don't need to obviously have that on the walls and everywhere in the kitchen. So you could mix a very less lower end or less expensive tile that really looks close to marble. And what I love about this too is you're going to, there's a lot of porcelain and ceramic options out there that mimic natural products. So make sure that when you're working at it and looking at a tile shop and you're going through these designs with your designer, even for a backsplash tile in a kitchen, you could probably get something that looks very much like you want it to look in a natural state, but might have less maintenance and less issues. So anyway, tile's a great way to make sure that you keep your eye on that budget by mixing in those porcelain and ceramics with the natural. Another one is hardwood. So hardwood flooring, like I said a minute ago, can be all over the place as regards to pricing. So let's talk about how you can and what to be looking for when you're looking at hardwood options. So hardwood comes in mainly three different ways. So there's solid hardwood. So in solid hardwood, it truly is a piece of wood. Right? It's got a huge, what they call wear layer, meaning how many times it can be sanded is all solid. So you might have a really thick wear layer here, but the whole piece is solid hardwood. And that's going to be a lot more expensive than maybe a high quality engineered, which is, if you notice, the wear layer is still nice and thick, not quite as thick as the solid, but nice and thick. And then underneath is just some backing that's not solid wood remnants and pieces of wood mushed together. It's a technical term, mushed, but you get the drift. But you have that wear layer. So what that means is you could get several sandings out of this. So let's say you plan on being in this home a really long time, and you know that you are just very, very particular about your floors, and you're going to want to get them sanded every 3 to 5 years. I can tell you right now, that's almost nobody I've ever met, but it could be you, so I'm throwing it out there. Most people put hardwood floors in, and they know that they are going to never go through this again. And then right before they sell it, that's when they're going to sand it one time and then sell the home. So in those instances, you could even go for a lower quality engineered, where the wear layer is a lot thinner. You might only get 1 or 2 sandings out of it total. But if you know that you're never going to do it, then why spend the additional money for the additional wear layer? So just a very quick way of looking at the different hardwood floors. And this again points to why it's important to be looking at these materials out in the showroom and noting down the pricing, because again, if you just say hardwood floors, the contractor might put in pricing for this, and you really were fine with this, or vice versa. They put in the pricing for this, and you actually wanted solid all along. So great way to give you some detail so you can be thinking of hardwood as you go throughout there. All right. Cabinets and countertops, all different ways that you can save and splurge in this area. Cabinetry comes in a couple different forms as far as how it's made. So you can hear, and a lot of people love what they call all plywood construction. So it's a very sturdy wood box, meaning the box of the cabinet is constructed by a very thick all plywood piece of wood. Now, the doors are going to be the doors no matter what. So sometimes a great way to save money is to go with what they call a particle board, or sometimes an MDF cabinet construction. And that just means that it is a little bit of a lesser, quote unquote, quality of the way that an all plywood construction might be built, but it's not going to break down over time. And think about it. How many of us live in kitchens that have cabinetry that is 15, 20, 25, 30 years old, and they're still staying strong. Part of why we've put up with them so long. So if that was the technology back then, imagine a particle board in these days are just even more strong. So I'm not against all plywood construction. Don't get me wrong. They're absolutely the best. But if it starts to come to a budgetary issue, don't be afraid to mix and match. And what I say by that is you could put all plywood construction around your sink base, because really what that's going to do is help protect if there was a water leak or some type of moisture issue, and all plywood's going to be a little bit sturdier than a lot more sturdier than a particle board. But if you've got something that's not anywhere near water, there's not going to be a flood in your house or anything like that, then you could go with the particle board in the rest of the cabinetry, or maybe put particle board in the upper cabinetry, but then in the lower is where you put the all plywood. So don't be afraid to talk to your kitchen designer about mixing and matching those cabinets. And then countertops all over the place between granite, an engineered product, which is sturdier, requires less maintenance and that type of thing. So you just really, why I bring it up is there's a lot out there. There's a lot of engineered products, like Silestone or Caesar stone that mimic granite. So a good example is on the left. These are actually these are samples of granite. And then on the right are samples of an engineered piece. So you can really get that look and feel that you're looking for in a lot of different options. So just do that preparation and that homework to get a sense of what you're looking for. All right. And then we're going to get into appliances. This is the last part of the materials area. And appliances are all over the place. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. But again, the whole point here is do your homework. Go out to Home Depot or H.H. Gregg or Sears. I think Sears is still selling appliances. Anyway, do a little bit of homework so that you're not just saying, I need all new appliances and leaving it at that, and then getting pricing back from your contractor that is well below what you need or well above. If you're not addicted to the Viking name or Wolf or Sub-Zero, there's a lot of great midline, very, very durable. I always recommend going to Consumer Reports. Two of our go-to lines are KitchenAid. GE Profile makes an excellent product. Bosch obviously is nice, but again, they can be a little bit higher end. So sometimes people always ask me, can you mix and match? Absolutely. So you can have a Bosch dishwasher because they're some of the best dishwashers out there, but then have a KitchenAid refrigerator and range. So just take a look, see what you like out there. All right. Now we are going to go into the construction phase. Now, before construction, it's really important to do a number of things, because you want to make sure that as you go into this kitchen remodel, that you've kind of got eyes wide open of what to look out for and how to be a great partner with your contractor. So contractors, they all are in this business to take care of clients. They want your referral business. They want to build their business. They want to run a great program for you. And it takes partnership. So it's really nice to be able to make sure that you know what's coming down the road. It's actually why I created the renovation roadmap. So homeowners, it's not really to do it yourself, but really so that you knew the tools of what should be coming next in that process, and don't get ahead of yourself with your contractor. So before construction, you want to do a trade walkthrough. And I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. I don't want to bore you and provide a little too much information, but a trade walkthrough is simply having your contractor bring the trades or subcontractors through your space before you start construction. So the electrician and the plumber and the flooring people, have them come through so they get their eyes on it. They can anticipate any issues. Let's say for electrical, you're adding a bunch of recessed lighting and you're electrician comes in and says, oh, I'm going to have to add a sub panel. Great. You know that up front before you sign the construction contract. So it's very important to ask them to bring their trades in so they can get a good idea and a good sense of your space. A scope of work. So in the very beginning, I talked about a scope of work, but that was really for you to create, to talk to your contractor. But before you go to construction, you want to get a detailed scope of work from them so that you know everything that's going to be included in your project, and you can make sure that it's just very clear of what's included. Production schedule. So this is every contractor that's going to be coming in and installing your kitchen should have an idea. If they say it's going to take 6 weeks, all right, so what's happening in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4? So week by week, they should have what we call a production schedule. And, we share ours with our clients. There's no reason, if they're about to go to construction and start swinging hammers in your kitchen, you want to make sure they know how they're going to get done when they say they're going to get done. A good example is a lot of times, sometimes homeowners are so excited to get started, or contractors are very excited to get started. They'll go ahead and start demoing the kitchen, but you haven't even finished ordering your cabinetry. Well, now your kitchen's going to be torn up a lot longer than it needed to be. So you want to get a good idea of what is their plan, their production schedule for getting your project complete on time and on budget. Schedule of payments is simply that, just a list of when can you anticipate having to make payments to them. And you always want to make sure that it's tied to milestones. So maybe when electrical rough-in is complete, and plumbing rough-in or rough framing, those milestones that are a part of your project should coincide with the schedule of payments. But you just want to know, when do you need to get money out of the bank and be prepared to pay them? You want to set up the permit plans. You need to make sure that your contractor is always pulling permits, especially for a kitchen. I mean, we're proponents of a permit for everything. It protects you, the homeowner, more than anybody. But definitely in the kitchen when you've got plumbing and electrical and all the different parts and pieces to it. The material finish schedule. So that's a spreadsheet or some type of tracking that they're going to show you of what are the allowances they've placed in for your material selections. Now, again, if you did your preparation and your homework, you should have provided some of those numbers that you wanted to include there. So you just want to make sure that that's included in the documentation before you get started. A design roadmap is simply how are you going to finish making all the selections before construction starts. So if they say they're going to start 4 weeks from now, create in your calendar, when are you going to meet them at the showrooms, or when are you going to sit down with the cabinetry designer and hammer everything out? Make sure you've got enough time to properly design your project before construction starts. And lastly is insurance. So in insurance, obviously, you're going to check if they're going to get licensed and insured, and we have a whole contractor checklist and the roadmap for that. But this insurance is talking about yours. So you actually should call your insurance company right before you start construction and let them know you're doing a renovation. They can up your policy enough to cover that finished space. And why this is important is, God forbid something happen and you have a fire or an accident or something happens in your home and you lose the progress that the contractor's already made. So let's say you've already given them $50,000 and they're halfway through the renovation, and then you have a fire or something that takes that down. You want to get covered for that finished space and that money that you were putting into. So just let your insurance broker or company know what's happening. All right, that's all before. During construction, just make sure you have a weekly in-person meeting. So I know we get really busy, but it's very important. And a lot of times clients love an 8 a.m. or a late afternoon appointment, but it's important that you're able to connect while you walk in your space once a week. Ask them how they're going to protect your home for the rest of your home from foot traffic and dirt, how they're going to manage the dust and the air quality. There's a lot of allergies and that type of thing. So there's a lot of tools and tricks like what we call an air scrubber or just a filtering system that if your contractor doesn't have, if it's a big enough project, it might be something you want to invest in. Go to Costco and look online. There's a lot of different options out there, just making sure that the dust and everything is managed to your satisfaction. Emergency contacts, just making sure that you have all their contact information in regards to an emergency as well as yours. This is very handy, especially if you're on vacation or if you work far away from you have a long commute. So it might be an emergency contact of your neighbor. So just provide each other your emergency contacts before you get into construction. And then get very clear on who has access to your home. So do they have an employee that's going to be opening your home every day and kind of managing and being on site? Is it a lockbox? If so, how many people are going to get the lockbox code? So you just want to, really think through making sure that you're comfortable with what their plan is for providing access. Now, another thing to do during construction, one of my favorite pieces is an intention painting. So an intention painting is just before you put up the first coat of paint, going through and writing your intention on the wall. So back to what I said when we were going through that project scope of the intention of the kitchen remodel might be to bring together family and friends, or health and fitness, and what's your intention for going through this renovation so that you're ready to do that. So this is a good example, a picture of a client that we did an addition for, and this was for their living room. So they wrote happy, healthy, and abundant, and possibilities, and they were just excited about their new space. They had a growing family, and they were ready to expand, literally and figuratively. And then you can also get the whole family involved. So this is little Paisley, and she was painting the wall. She couldn't write yet, but she had her hand in it. And what's nice about an intention painting is after that coat goes up, nobody knows that you've done that, but you've stamped that space with your intention, and it just means something to you and your family. One of my favorite things. All right. After construction, and we're wrapping it up here. So after construction, you just really want to look at a completion checklist. And again, that's one thing that we provide as far as what is everything you should be looking for and testing and making sure that it works right before you provide that last payment. So really going through and checking everything, even if you didn't have a checklist and you just wanted to do it, making notes, taking a notebook, and going around the space when the contractor's not around. I think a lot of times, we form really great relationships with contractors and with whoever's going to be in our home. So you just want to maybe do it on your own time so you don't feel so guilty, and then you can go through the checklist with them. You want to have your home professionally cleaned. So if your contractor does not have this in the budget or didn't plan to do this, just, think through when they say it's going to be your last day and you're going to be moving in. Don't get caught holding the bag of having to clean the insides of all your cabinets. I mean, there's a lot of dust and a lot of debris that happens in a kitchen renovation. So you just want to make sure that you plan ahead for that. Get copies of the warranty and owner's manuals from your contractor. A lot of times that stuff will get tossed into a drawer or kind of haphazardly. So you want to make sure that you do collect all that at the end of your project. And then space clearing. So this is another interior alignment practice, and I kind of skimmed over that was part of the intention painting. But an interior alignment is really about, got out of order here. Well, here's an example. I'll go right into the interior alignment in just a second. But this is an example of a job completion walkthrough checklist. So this is a checklist. Once you're all finished, sometimes people call it a punch list. Just an easy to reference, what to check, what to make sure is cleaned, make sure that there's no broken, cracked, or scratched windows, whatever that might be. So this is an example of one of the checklists that we have. All right. So back to interior alignment. So interior alignment is really about the energy of your space. And that's why I talked about the intention painting. It's just really about aligning energetically your space and not just having it be about pretty countertops and new cabinetry, but kind of going another level another level into your renovation. So space clearing is something that I highly recommend that you do at the very end of your project, like the very, very end. And you're essentially just clearing the space from all the stress and worry and anxiety that you might have had, which we really want to avoid if at all possible, which is the whole reason I'm talking about to homeowners just like you. But, really just being able to hand over the home back to you and really clear out that energy. So this is an example of, and it's really neat because it's not, anything woo woo. It's as far as you want to be. But this client here, it was funny because this was actually Matt from before. He I started showing that I was going to burn some sage and that type of stuff, which I'll talk about in a moment. And he's like, oh my gosh, I should go get my bowl. And he runs downstairs and he comes back up. And this is a Tibetan singing bowl that he had gotten on a trip to Tibet. And he just absolutely was lit up. I never in a million years would have thought he would get into this, just because, I mean, he worked for the government and, was a consultant and, very buttoned up, loved to play golf and all that good stuff. So I just had no idea about that side of him. So it was really neat to see that come out. So, don't be afraid to burn a candle or, like I said, burn some sage or incense. This is a picture of me, doing what you call smudging, Maggie. So this is just, clearing the energy, by putting smoke or saging somebody. And we did that throughout the house as well. So again, may or may not be your cup of tea. For some people, it's just simply coming into the front door and reading out loud, maybe a Bible passage or a poem, something that means something to you, or just stating your intention. Now that the home's back in your space, really just kind of clearing that space and feeling like it's your home again. So now we're wrapping up. I just want to talk a little bit about the community support. It's so important for you to have community support when you're remodeling. And, that's why we built it as part of the platform for the renovation roadmap, is just to make sure that you don't feel like you're in it alone, that you can get questions answered, that you can talk to homeowners from all over the country, all over the world, and share pictures and post, images and all of that good stuff. So, make sure that you have that community support around you. If it's not through the renovation roadmap, then through Facebook or at least through family or friends, whatever it might be. But we're a big proponent of making sure that you surround yourself with other people that are renovating and can kind of know the ropes and answer those questions for you. Now, what's next? As we wrap up here, I want to make sure that I'm able to connect with you guys. So I would really love for you to send me your story. I'm going to pick just a couple of you. I can't get back to everyone, but I'm going to pick a couple stories with some pictures and just want to know what you're working on. I want to put it in an upcoming blog. So I would love to hear what you're working on, what type of project you're either thinking about or that you're doing or that you just finished. So I would just love to connect with you in that way. So please, please, please send me your story, and I'll choose a couple of you to highlight. And also keep an eye out in your email for a special offer. So we're going to have a special renovation roadmap offer coming out to you shortly. So I just want to make sure that you keep an eye out in your inbox for that. I'm also going to give a 20-minute consultation giveaway. So this is so I can get on the phone with you, answer any questions, dig into your renovation dilemmas that may or may not be out there. So we're going to, at the end of this webinar, we're going to choose a lucky winner and we'll contact you and get you on the schedule. I would love to find out how I can help. And lastly, just the renovationroadmap.com. The whole reason I talk about giving help, the whole reason I created it is to have people love their homes again. And I feel like so many people wait way too long to renovate because they're afraid of the process or afraid of contractors, I should say, and just not sure what the next steps of the process are. So that's the whole purpose behind our entire community at the Renovation Roadmap. And if you want to find any more out about what we've created, just go over to renovationroadmap.com. So now we are going to get into answering just a few questions. I know we're just very close to the hour mark here, so I appreciate your patience, but I really want to hear from a couple of you. And so I'm going to, there we are. So I'm back with you guys and just want to really take a look and put in the chat box on the right of your screen any questions that you have for me so I can get those answered for you straight away. All right. So Dana says her kitchen is closed off and she really wants to remove walls, like I just showed, but wants to know what kind of contractor she needs for this and how does she even know if it's an option structurally. So Dana, the best way, you definitely want to use a general contractor or a design build firm for this. And you want to make sure that they're going to bring in a structural engineer. So it's an engineer that is going to stamp the plans and really make sure that if there is something load bearing, that you've checked it out and that they have the load calculations and everything done correctly. Now, at first glance, you can have a contractor come in, maybe cut some walls in your drywall, like I talked about, see if there's anything hidden in there. But if you are actually going to take down some walls, you want to make sure that you verify that as much as possible. All right. Aaron, Mina, do you have a favorite source for tile? So I do. And, obviously in our area, we use, some local shops, but the Tile Shop is a great shop that is, national. It's all over the place. So go to thetileshop.com. Mod Walls. I love Mod Walls if you like a modern feel and decor. And then you can actually go to Home Depot. Sometimes they get a bad rap, but they have a decent amount of selection. I'm really impressed with the options that they have out there these days. All right. Cassandra, how should you plan payments to contractors? So I mentioned a little bit earlier the schedule of payments. So Cassandra, you really want to make sure that you get a list of when are the payments most likely going to be due from your contractor, and they should really coincide with work. So if it's electrical has been done, then you owe a payment. Plumbing has been completed, that's owed a payment, and so on and so forth. So you just really want to get a good idea along with not only the payments, but are they tied to milestones? That's the most important piece there. All right, just a couple more. Isabel asks, will white painted cabinetry go out of style? That is a great question because everybody these days is doing white cabinets. And, I'm not a fortune teller. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you that white is classic, and especially the white that people are putting in these days. It's not the white from the 80s and with the melamine and stuff is peeling off. It's really, there's a lot of different off whites, or you can mix and match some white with some darker or stained grade. So you can really have that classic feel, but I don't think white cabinets are going away anytime soon, especially depending on the area of the country that you live in. So if you don't get a lot of light like us over here on the East Coast, it's nice to have bright cabinets in your space. So I'm telling you, everyone's still going white. They've been going white for a while. I can't see it going anywhere anytime soon. All right, last question. Kelly asks, do you have a favorite type of sink? Funny question, Kelly. But I do. I love a single bowl sink. I love to be able to put a huge pan and pots and, cookie sheets and be able to really get in there. And I like a modern aesthetic, but I will tell you, I will caution you on those square sinks. I love a square look and those sharp lines, but there's ones that have the corners that are also very, very sharp. And oh my God, you cannot get anything out of it. You literally have to have a toothbrush or a toothpick to get it clean. So you can get that nice square big sink, but in the corners, just make sure that there's a little bit of a radius, a little bit of a rounded area there. So that's my answer to the sink question. And I'm going to wrap it up now and let you guys get on with your day. But I just really appreciate, again, you attending and being a part of this webinar. I hope you found it useful, and stay in contact with me. Email me those questions, connect with me on social media, and check us out at renovationroadmap.com. All right. Have a great day.